Doesn't like being on its side, does it? Oh, you know it helps. Well, I can't quite believe it's now late November and I haven't even yet done a springtime renovation on my Tiftuf lawn here. With all the things I've been doing at Mum and Dad's and all the other jobs I've been doing in the background, I really have only just been mowing this and maintaining it. A bit of fertilizer there at the beginning of the season, but it's actually looking pretty good. We're still sitting at 8mm, although as we've talked about in previous videos, I would imagine that the bench height of cut, which is 8mm, and the actual height of cut will be a little bit different. It's probably more like 15mm or so, but it really is pretty tight and looking pretty good. Now, we've just over 4 weeks till Christmas. I think I've just got enough time to get a height of cut reset in and get it looking smick for Christmas. So 4 weeks, it should be looking just about on point. And then in the new year, there is a slim possibility that we're gonna have an international visitor coming here. We might do a bit of a video with him. I won't say who it is at this stage in case it doesn't happen, but we need to be on our game. So when he comes, it looks half decent. So, as you guys have probably seen this channel once or twice before, we'll start with a scarification with the Scott Bonner scarifier. We'll take it down real low with a scalpy mower. And in between that, we'll pick it up with that new Cub Cadet that we've been supplied through Cub Cadet and Valley Outdoors in Singleton. And we'll get this down to dirt and get it back for Christmas. This Tiftuf really has been surviving on nothing but neglect, and it does look really, really, really good. In fact, the only little bit of scalping that I've got at the moment is just a little tiny section here where the mower bit in the other day into the thatch. So you can see it here there. Other than that, mate, this thing is looking on point. If you've been watching this channel for a while now, no doubt you've seen me do more than one renovation on this Tiftuf lawn, and there's been one step that I've never actually done on this lawn during a renovation before, and that is core aeration. Now that's a pretty important step in most people's situations, but for me it's a little bit different. If you actually have seen the videos of when I installed this lawn, you'll remember that I used a coarse river sand, and that was only due to the fact that we had floods at the time and there was absolutely nothing else available that I could use. Anyway, so going forward, one of the benefits of that has enabled me to probably forget about doing core aeration. And one of the main reasons that is because the ground here simply just does not compress down. Being that really coarse sand, you get a really open soil profile, and compaction and drainage, or lack of drainage, aren't really considerations I need to consider. Occasionally, maybe every couple of years, I could open up the surface to get a bit of more heavier sand down there if I wanted. But again, at the moment, I can't actually do it. So I'll give you a quick look now at what I'm talking about. So as you can see, really is quite an open profile. There's no compaction. There's no real need. We've got quite a good root structure. You'll see here there's a little clay band there, and that would have been the clay that came on the turf when the turf arrived. Now these root system will obviously go down deeper than that, but being, as you can see, being in this sort of sharp sand, as you actually cut it, it does actually break off, but it's quite coarse. Probably not my first choice in sand, but as I said at the time, that's all I had available. Well, to be fair, I thought we might have actually brought up a little bit more thatch and mat than what we already have. Now, I suppose I've got to keep in mind, I did do my end of season renovation, was it March? It might have been March earlier in the year, so probably does stand a reason that there might be a little bit less than I was expecting. However, I still will go over this twice in an opposite direction. So pretty happy with the depth of that now. It's pretty much going down just to ground. So I'll continue over this way at this height, and then on our final trim, or a final pass I should say, I'm going to take it down probably another, not quite 1 centimetre, maybe 5 mil, 5 or 8 mil, somewhere there, just to sort of nip down into that soil just marginally, because I think there's just a tiny bit more we can bring up that we'll get on the second pass. But for now, this will be sufficient. If you're sitting at home now and you're wondering, how deep should I set my scarifier to do my renovation? There's really not a one size fits all answer. It sort of depends on A, what sort of machine you're using, B, what sort of grass type you have, and C, what you're actually trying to achieve. Now, as a general rule of thumb, if you're using a higher machine with a flail type cut, like what we used at Shane's place on the Kikuyu, I wouldn't recommend getting that thing to go down into the ground, simply because those flails are too wide and they cause too much damage. They're too aggressive for that sort of work. However, if you have a unit like this one that features these very thin fixed style blades, be it these more sawtooth style or the single edger style blades that you might see in a Ryobi battery version, for example, these give you the benefit of going down into the soil profile if you desire. Now, for a general springtime renovation on a couch or Tiftuf lawn, etc., I would recommend going down nice and deep with one of these style machines, or just about to ground with a higher style flail machine. The Ryobi one, I've got one there, but we're going to do a test on really soon. It's sitting at home, inside, and I thought we might do the Santa Ana with that and just sort of see my thoughts on it and how I would set it up, so you guys can sort of get a bit of an idea at home. But anyway, if you were doing, for example, buffalo, and I know a lot of people are scared of that, but it can be done, I would have this lifted up a bit higher. We don't want to be cutting away everything, so I'd raise it maybe a centimetre or so above the ground, maybe a bit better. It's all just a matter of what you're trying to achieve. Or for example, if I'm doing a mid-season just dethatch and I'm not doing a height cut reset, I'll probably set this thing again just above ground level and run over it. And ideally, if I took out this much material, that would probably be a bit excessive just for a little maintenance, mid-season maintenance sort of tickle up. But in our case here, for a springtime renovation, we really do want to go down nice and deep if we're looking to get that down to dirt, height cut reset, and we're getting a fresh lot of rejuvenation I should say, etc. So these springtime renovations, another good point to consider, we don't need to go the first day the frost stops. The first day the frost starts, we don't need to be out there doing a renovation if we don't have to. In most of Australia, you're good to renovate right from, let's say, the long weekend in October, or a little bit before in Queensland, right up until probably the middle to the end of February, which would cover you down into the southern states as well. I've sort of started to adopt the attitude now of a beginning and end of season renovation, and as you can see, getting a fair bit less material coming out now, but we've dropped this down. We'll see how much more we pull out now. So when you're setting it up, in closing, when you're setting it up, it just depends what you're trying to do. But for a general rule of thumb and a springtime renovation, I would be looking to get it down as deep as practically possible without causing damage to A, the machine, and B, the soil beneath it. So I hope that's helped you a little bit. So definitely a lot less material has come up with a twice a season renovation. I think going forward, that is going to be the way I do business here. Now, thought I'd just let this dry on the surface just a little bit. It's going to be quite a warm day. Give this opportunity to dry on the surface. I'm going to quickly just swap the blades out on that scalpy mower because it's had a few renovations now. They are getting worn out, and I do have a spare set. So as you can see, I think I've done about 4 really heavy, maybe 5 really heavy cuts with that thing, as in renovation style mows, and it really has taken the life out of those blades. So it'll be interesting to see now how we go with this nice fresh set. Well, this will be the 3rd time I've used this mower. In fact, it's done, what's it done? 2.6 hours, so she's still brand new. The first time obviously was the Kaiku renovation, and I've done a cut of the backyard. One of the things I like the most about it is the fact that this tube here has a clear section, because these mowers, no matter what the brand, if the grass isn't dry, they can sometimes clog and you don't always notice it, but with this one, it gives you the vision to see what's going on, and I really like that. Got a couple more horsepower than the John Deere. This is 24 versus 22, and the steel fabricated deck as opposed to a pressed steel deck, so much more heavy duty. I also find this thing turns a lot tighter and is a bit lighter on the steering. Okay, so we've got it all picked up now, and Dad came down to lend a hand, and this is the first time that he's actually been on this mower. He's actually inherited the John Deere, so it's gone down there to him, and I'll be on this Cub Cadet. How did you find its steering?
The steering is beautiful, easy, has a very close turn circle.
Yep. What about the catching? I actually personally think it probably catches a bit better than the John Deere. What?
It picks everything up definitely better than John Deere.
Yep.
I like it. Goes faster too.
Goes faster too. Turns easy to operate, comfortable.
It sits comfortable.
Yep. Cool.
For me, young person, I can even operate it.
Excellent.
It's easy. Well, 3-4 times ago, and I think it works very well.
Excellent.
I'm not complaining. I don't mind. You want your John Deere back?
No,
I'll
I'll
take
stick
that
this one for a while.
Oh,
Righto, all right, well, let's start scalping now, and then we'll use this again to pick up all that mess. Without any question of a doubt, this is probably the most dramatic part of any renovation, and that is the scalping. And as you just saw, we've got brand new blades on it now, and we're good to go. If you find when you're doing this, it does get a little bit too dusty, what I've done in the past is I've actually put the irrigation on between the scarifying and this part, just to keep dust down. We'll see how we go today. If we need to put the irrigation on just for a quick cycle through, we will, but hopefully we don't have to. Doesn't like being on its side, does it? Oh, you know it helps. Quite a lot of material just came out of that. In fact, it was about 340 kilos of dead material that I've just taken to the dump. So it's starting to look exactly like we need it to look, straight the way down. We can see here, we are pretty much down to dirt. Now, the reason why this probably looks like it's not quite like that, or quite down to dirt as we say, is because this is a really sandy profile here. And what happens is, when the sand is dry, it does actually move around in the mower. So the mower actually sucks up a bit of that sand and moves it. So if this was wet or more damp when we did it, we'd be cutting closer to ground. But what's happened is we've actually moved sand away, as you can see here. And as we keep doing that, we get down deeper and deeper and deeper. So if this, for example, was wet, if we wet this down, there'd be nothing left. But if it's dry like that, that's why we're getting a bit of stalky material. So that material there would have technically been underneath a thin layer of sand. So as we see it there now, that is pretty good. From here on in, now time to put down a complete fertilizer. Now we need to avoid anything that's slow release. We don't want a slow release fertilizer when we're recovering from a renovation such as this. We need a more instantaneous release or rapid release style product to get some leaf growth growing, or get some leaf pushing back through, getting recovery happening as quick as possible. Obviously, as I said at the start of this video, we're 4 weeks out from Christmas, so that is my top priority, is getting this back in time for Christmas Day, so it's looking mint. And I reckon by that stage, it'll be absolutely on point. So as usual, product we're going to use today is from the Plant Doctor. It's their Champion Lawn and Greens grade fertilizer. It is a mini prill fertilizer, so it'll get down nice and low in the canopy here, and it won't get picked up with the mower when we start mowing down the track. So we're going to put this out. The rate is anywhere between 2 and 4 kilos per 100 square meters. We'll go somewhere around that 3 kilos per 100 square meters, simply because I have done a spring fertilize already prior to this renovation. So we don't need to go absolute max rates in this scenario. Once we've done that, we can do one or two things. We can just put water on this and start watering it in, give it a good drink, or we could apply some Seaweed Secrets or some Plant Doctor Nature Soil Wetter. We could do any of that sort of stuff. Today, I'm probably just going to put fertilizer down, water it in, and call it a day. Probably in the morning, I might come back and put some liquids on, some soil wetters and stuff, but just for now, I'm literally just doing a bare bones renovation. So we, as I said, granular fert, irrigation, sit back, relax, and wait for it to rebound. And as the breeze picks up for the afternoon, I have probably made the right choice not applying any liquids at the moment in a backpack sprayer, because the wind's just going to carry that stuff around, probably wear more of it than goes where I need it to be. So probably tomorrow morning will be our best bet. Going forward from here, we've got about, I think, 3 or 4 days of this really warm mid 30 degree weather. And then after that, I think we've got about a week of rain, which should come in just at the right time to help get this back on track and looking fantastic, just in time for Christmas. Well, here we are. It's now the 20th of December. We are days away from Christmas, and I just thought I'd finish off this video by giving it a little update and a mow. Now, as you can see, it has recovered amazingly. Now, the other thing to add to this, since filming the renovation, I've also had to redo another height cut reset because I got tied up with work and it got away. So I had to do a height cut reset. So I actually did a mow at 7 mils. If you've been watching for a while, you'll know that my normal height cut here is 8. So that doesn't seem like much, but I really did take a lot off it. I've now readjusted the mower, and I have done an application of plant growth regulator a few days ago. And I've now set the mower at 9.5 millimeters, a nice even number. So today, we're going to give it a cut at that. And then I reckon, even though today's the 20th, a couple of days before Christmas, I'm going to come through again and give it a second application of iron, just to carry us through the Christmas period with a really nice, lush looking lawn. So let's get our mow on. Well, I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm going to call this another successful lawn renovation. As you can see, come back beautifully, lovely amount of growth, 2 catches off this lawn. So I've got one to tip out and one I tipped on the garden there before. As I said, in a couple of days time, I'm going to hit it with a bit of iron just to really kick it off in time for Christmas. Anyway, guys, we'll wrap it up here. Have a fantastic weekend. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Remember, if you're new, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on the Aussie Lawn.